So we are on the so last class में हम लोगों ने scope देखा था. So is it visible now? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we are moving to the class modeling. So before going to class modeling, we have to take a quick look on different advanced class properties that are being available for us. So last class में हमने scope तक देख लिया था. Now we are going for the visibility. So what is this visibility? So this visibility is the ability of a method of a reference to make a reference to another features of different classes. So like we have different values for this visibility like in public, protected, private and package. और आप लोगों ने शायद स्ट्रीट पढ़ भी रखा होगा what is different in Java or C Sharp or in case of Python or C++. So we are like हमारे पास मेथड्स हैं तो उन मेथड्स पर हम या डेटा एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं तो उन पर हम क्या विजिबिलिटी अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. सो लाइक अगर प्रोग्रामिंग में आपने देखा होगा तो दिस आर नोन एज द एक्सेस मॉडिफायर्स अवेलेबल. सो in general case this is known as visibility and this visibility is solely depend on your implementation level of your languages. So कौन सी लैंग्वेज कितना सपोर्ट कर सकती है वो डिपेंड करता है. लाइक इन C++ you are having public and private. Now in case of Java you are having public, protected, private and no access modifiers. So those are like packages. Now similar case for the C Sharp, .NET and so on. So we are not going for the particular specific programming language over here. So we are going for looking as an object oriented analysis. So these are very comfortable objects, comfortable topic that we are having public, the access specifiers or the visibility, protected, private or the packages. Now we have to concern three issues that are related with the visibility. The first is let's say this is an comprehension. So before starting or making the visibility like in public, protected or private and so on, so we have to understand which attributes or which operations should we consider as an public features and the remaining should be an protected, private or packages. So we have to start identifying what are the different features that should be used by other classes. So we have to make them public. So it usually helps to make extensibility of your projects. Why? Because at first attempt we should include only the public features and then we'll go for a specific. So at the start or the in the first iteration, so we'll identify these public features and we'll ignore all the remaining ones. Then we'll go in for the extensibility. So this extensibility is related to your comprehensions. So often many features like when I'm seeing features, so these features are either attributes or operations. So either in case of methods, so methods are usually or oftenly considered as an public, while attributes are considered to be the private of your classes or limited to the package visibility. So when we are going for the public visibility, so when we try to make a change in our signature of let's say public method, so when we are going for this change in signature, so it should be reflected in all the classes. So what is the problem associated with this public methods are we have to consider or we have to go so at all the usage points of your classes. Let's say we are defining a operation in let's say class A. So मैंने उसको अगर define करा है this is an public operation. So when we are going to implement this in class B or class C or class D, so we have to make sure that when we are changing the signature of all those classes, so we have to go to each and every classes, let's say B, C and D, and we have to adjust our usage over there. So this is the second issue related with the visibility. So then the third one is we have to identify the context. So usually private, protected and packages, even publicly methods are relied on their preconditions or when your state of your object is created and so on. So first is to identify the context, because context is most important thing when we are developing in a real world uh, application software or the information system. So first identify what is the context of the system. For an example, let's say I have to check the result of students. So we are having different types of classes available. So in main class, result class, we are having, we can have it's a result attributes of students. So as an faculty, I can check results of any student of our university, but as an student, you cannot check. So we have to make, or we have to go for different types of preconditions. What is being defined on your use case text and even in your robustness as well as in sequence diagram. So this will be identified. So when you are going from the private, protected, and the package, you have this visibility is automatically defined in your preconditions or the uh, or from the sequence diagram where you created your objects from different methods. Fine. Now, when we are going from the private visibility, so it may result in some incorrect evaluation because some data are private and some data might not be private. So when we are accessing some private data, so it may cause problems, or sometimes it leads to failure of your objects because your data is not that much complete for your calculation. So we have to identify the context. So when we are going from the private, we have to make a strict limitation that your data should be defined in, or data usage should be uh, in your that specific class. Or when we can say in case of Java, we can say that this is a self method, or no, self method is I like is in Python. So this method should be called on that particular object. So we have to consider the context for defining private and the public methods in addition to your protected and packages. So next go for association rule. So what are these association rules? Association ends. So as name implies, this association ends reflects your end of association. So we are having binary association, ternary association, or n-ary associations available. So when we are going from the binary association, it means that we are having two ends available, while we are going from the ternary association, it means that we are having three ends available. So basically three or four properties associated with this association end. First thing is that association end. So when we are going for implementing this association relationship between the classes, we should specify the name of this association. Why? Because it helps to identify what is the role of that particular class with the another class. Let's say uh, we are having two classes, a faculty and a student. So faculty, so we can put the association and name with each classes. Let's say faculty teaches to students, or the student learns from faculty. So we have to put all those association and name. It is been suggested in many texts so that we can identify what is the usage of all those association relationship available. Then we have to go for multiplicity. So we can add multiplicity that has been covered in the previous classes. So we can identify what are the multiplicity available, and we can put this multiplicity at the association and where is it zero or many, or zero or one, or zero and many, and strictly one or many, and so on. So we are in different multiplicity available. Then the next third property is the ordering. So usually the objects for many association, when we are going from the multiplicity, so we are having many associations. So the objects for the many association ends are usually just set. So we are having available, we are having some sets available for this association relationship. So we have to order all those association. In addition to that, instead for going just like this set which is for ordering, instead we can have a bag of association end, or we can have a sequence of association end. So either we can store all those association end name either in the ordering, or we can go for the we can go for in a sequence. Like in ordering, we can store them in a set, or we can store them in a sequences. So these are some properties with the association. And so then we are going from n-ary association. So when we are having binary association, ternary association, and so on, so we'll go for n-ary association. This is just a generalization of all those association available. So the basic idea behind this n-ary association is that we have to avoid this n-ary association because it is very difficult to implement in the programming languages. So what we are trying to do is we'll like to decompose those n-ary association into binary association. For an example, let's say we are having an n-ary association like a person that purchases a stock and the company. So this is usually an ternary association. So what we can do is that we can uh, convert it into binary association. Let's say I'll draw this n-ary association available here. So this is an, let's say this is an person class available, just like similar as an ER diagram. Then this is again a purchase class available. So this is PU, and let's say this is an company classes available. So all these uh, classes are directly related to each other. So I have to put this diamond over here. So this is my n-ary association. So while it is more difficult to implement, so we can do, what we can do is that we can either go for the binary association. So we can decompose it into binary association. Let's say this person, right from this decomposition over here. So what we can do is a person, this person purchases so many items. So this is a class. So what is being purchased? So the stock has been purchased from n number of companies. So instead of a specific company, what we can do is that we can convert it into a binary association. Now, in addition to that, we have to add end names. This is association end name. So it can reflect that if a class participates in an association in more than one, so it will reflects all those association or the usage name over different classes. So this is how we can decompose our classes. So this is just an based on your experience level, how you can decompose your classes into n-ary association. So we are not having some strict or structured formula available how to convert this binary association into n-ary association, because we are going to some modeling, and modeling is just based on your experiences level for object oriented analysis and design. So uh, more practice and you will become more comfortable how to decompose all those data into binary association right from n-ary association. Then comes, let's say, another example. So this is another example. So this is how we can represent your n-ary association available, and then we'll put just in previous slide I said that we have to put an end names over here. So these are the end name associated with each class. So let's say this is a class diagram for n-ary association. So this is ternary association, and this is for instance diagram. Let's say this is object diagram. For this you are having a project. So right from previous, so this is a project, this is a language and person. So what we can say that a programmer can work on multiple projects, as well as in projects contains multiple programmers available here, and a person can work on different languages, and as well as uh, projects contains number of languages like in HTML and Java and Python libraries and different C libraries are well associated with. So this is a way how we can map all those n-ary association. Let's say this is ternary association. So this is just a simple usage over here. Then another example on the instance diagram over here. So this is our instance diagram. So this is a name of instance available that has been specified in your first or second classes. So this is a name of instance, and this is a class available here. So this is a class identity. Then what we can have is we have some languages available here. So we are in different languages available here. Then a person. So let's say a person whose state is Mary. So this is a Mary. So whose name is again and Mary. So Mary uh, can work on this accounting and CAD projects also simultaneously, or she can work on the COBOL language as well as on C language. So we are in multiple relationships available, and how we can map all those relationships. So when we are going for object diagram, so or the instance diagram, so we can add multiple languages. So this is usually depends on the state of your data. So this is the state of your data. Well, when we are going from language, so we don't have to include the states over here. So these are the different states associated with your this language classes, either maybe COBOL or C or Python or Java and so on. Again, then we are having again an array association available here. So in case of an array association, we can add a simple association that is associated with these classes. So what we have having is that a professor can teaches in different semester, and listed courses are available in different semester, and semester contains different courses, and professor can teach different courses available. So this is an ternary relationship available here. So this is my ternary relationship available. In addition to that, we can add this association link, which says that a professor for a particular semester from that listed courses delivered a course. So for particular deliver course, we are having a room number associated with these classes. So when we are going for more specificity, so we can add association relationship over here. So it specify the relationship of all these three classes over here. So this is how we can add association relationship with this n-ary association relationships. Again, going for n-ary association relationship. So usually a programming language cannot express your n-ary association relationship. So what we can do is that we have to promote some association classes available here. So like I had promoted some association classes. These are some association classes that is promoted for implementing all those courses. So let's say this class. So this class has been promoted to your n-ary association relationship over here. So now when we are going from this n-ary association, so this has been converted into your binary relationship. So this is just an one binary relationship. This is again an binary relationship. This is again an binary relationship, and so this is just an association. So instead of having this is a ternary relationship or n-ary relationship, so that I specified in your first point, sir, that we have to decompose all those relationships into binary association. So this is how we can add if we are not comfortable to identify those relationships. So we can do we can promote a single class to your n-ary association class available here. So this is how we can convert your different association rules into a binary association. So this is one binary, this is again second binary, and this is again third binary association. So this n-ary is converted into, sorry, this ternary is converted into three binary association relationships available. Now going for the aggregation. So we had covered this aggregation before. So we like to identify different things in this aggregation, and how we can classify this aggregation with the association relationship that are available. So this aggregation is just an special type of your association, or we can say that this is a strong form of your association. So what it specifies that your a particular object of a class or a particular object is made of an constituent parts. So for an example, this university is constituted of different institutes like SVIIT, SVITS, and so on. And your constituents are the parts of aggregate like SVK, SVIIT, SVITS, SVITS, and textile, and so on. So all these constituents are your part of your aggregate. This is SEEE. So we can map your whole part relationship over here. Let's take an example. Let's say this is a lawnmower that cuts your grasses from your garden. So this lawnmower consists of a blade, a single blade, a single engine. Then it can have multiple wheels and a single deck available here. So this represents that this lawnmower contains different constituent parts. So this is my one constituent. This is again a constituent. Let's say we are having 4 wheels available. So these are 4 constituents, and again a single constituent available. Or we can say that this deck, this wheel, this engine, and this blade, when aggregated over here, so this makes your lawn. So this is just an example of your aggregation. So the most significant property of this aggregation is just a transitivity. That means that if A has B, or B is a part of A and C is a part of B, so we can say that let's say this is an A and it contains, let's say this is B, and again the transitivity says, let's say this is again a B and this is C. So A has B and B has C. So right from this transitivity जो आप लोगों ने शायद discrete में पढ़ा भी था. So we can say that A has C. For an example, let's say this is an SVV and this is SVIIT, and let's say this is CSE. So we can say that SVV has CSE. So this is just an transitivity. Now again another significant property associated with this aggregation is that this is an antisymmetric. So what it signifies is that if A has B and B has C, so we can't say that if A has B, so B has A. That means we cannot write this as A has B. So if it is available, so we can't say that B has a. So this is an antisymmetric property, while when we are going from the symmetric, so A has B, so that we can say that B has A. So this is just an opposite, so we can say that A has B, so we cannot say that B has A. So this is aggregation is antisymmetric. So there is only a whole part, and we can have multiple subparts available over there. Then many aggregate operations that imply transitivity closures. So what does it means that transitivity closure? So let's say as per the definition of transitivity closure. So let's say this X. This is my class A. Then we can say that we are some aggregation relationship. So I can put R over here, then B. So I can say that A has B. So we can go for closure, that is from the transitivity closure. So we can say that many zero or many combinations. So we can say that this transitive closure, this is A. So we can derive it from B. So it is just a transitive closure. So we can say that either from this side or from n number of combination of this transitivity. So this is an n number of transitivity, zero or more. This is one or more transitivity. So this is a transitive closure. So we are having n number of items available. So we have this aggregation again satisfy your transitivity closure, and it operates both either in the direct parts or the indirect parts. So let's say this is an direct part of A and C is an indirect part of A. So this is how we can say that a transitive closure. So when we are going from transitive closure, we can say that C has, let's say, D. So zero or more combination or one or more combination. So when it specifies, so it is true for one case, so it is also true for n number of cases available. So this is our transitive closure. आपने शायद talk में पढ़ा होगा. So now comparing this aggregation versus association. So when we are going from this aggregation and association, so this aggregation is just a special form of your association. So this is not a new concept or independent concept. This is just arises or evolved from your association. So when we are going from aggregation, so we can say that we are having some tightly bound over whole part. So there exists a part which has some whole available. So this is uh, an object A contains an object B. Let's say S triple B contains SVIT. Now when we are going for this association, so we can say that two objects, let's say SVIT and S triple B. So these are usually considered being as an independent. So what we can say that two different objects that might be linked, but they are supposed to be independent, like a faculty and a student. So instead of having faculty, you can have students. So this is just an association relationship that and faculties are associated with uh, simple students. So student faculty teaches a student or student learns from faculty. So this is not a whole part relationship. This is just an association relationship. While when we are going for tightly bound, so let's say SVIT contains this. Sorry, S triple B contains this SVIT. So how to check this aggregation relationship? So we are having some tests available. So first test says that क्या हमारे टेक्स्ट में कुछ ऐसा पार्ट आ रहा है लाइक से वुड यू यूज अ फेस पार्ट ऑफ सो व्हेन वी राइट इन योर use case description or in your use case right from your use case diagram or even in your requirement story or requirement description or even in your software requirement specification, if you encountered with these four statements like would you have use the face part, so this is again an aggregation relationship because this is a part of, so either let's say this SVIT is a part of S triple B and we can model all those sorts of things. So this is an again relationship. Again, do some operations on the whole automatically applies to parts. Let's say student enrolled in S triple B, so it automatically enrolled either in S triple B, sorry SVITS or in SVIT. So an engineering student enrolled in S triple B, it means that it is either is a part of SVIT or is SVITS. Again, the next encountered sentence will be do some attribute values propagate from the whole to some part. So we'll check this propagation relationship in the next 2 or 3 slides. So whether there is a propagation, like again, so when we enters in the admission part, so in admission you encounters with you have encounter with your admission section, then you are propagating to different institutes, and after having some institute you will propagate it, or you will send propagate it to your different departments, and then obviously your first semester, second semester, and so on. So this again and propagation relationship exists right from your whole two parts. So this is again, then if there is an intrinsic asymmetry to the association, so we are having intrinsic asymmetry. That means let's say asymmetry exists. Let's say a student learns from faculty or faculty teaches a student. So we can have a simple symmetry available that both are associated with each other. Now, when we are going from SVIT is a part of S triple B, so SVIT is an institute of S triple B. So this is just an asymmetry. We cannot say that S triple B is an institute of SVIT. So when there exists an asymmetry between your two different classes, then we can go for aggregation. So modeling this decision when to use aggregation is just a matter of your judgment, and it can be arbitrary or just based on your experiences available. So more you will get experience and you can model better all these relationships. Next, now when we are having in this whole part relationship, then we are having two types of whole part, just and simple aggregation or can we go for this composition? So composition is again a form of aggregation. So what we can say that composition is a aggregation and aggregation is a association. So this is just a generalization relationship. So a composition is a form of aggregation, so with some two additional constants. So in case of aggregation, we are having a single constant, single entity that is in whole and part. Now we are adding two constants available, and we'll include these constants on 2 or 3 slides later. So what are these constants? So first constant is that the constituent part can belong to at most one assembly. Let's say this SVIT can belong only to this SVV. It cannot belong to your either Medicafs or Devi Ahilya University. So this is just a composition relationship. It can belongs to only one assembly. So this is a most important thing, that it can belong to one assembly. But a tire can belong to any car, but this SVIT only belongs to this SVV. So this is a composition relationship available. Then once a constituent part has been assigned as an assembly, it has coincident a lifetime with the assembly. That is, it takes your whole part takes ownership of your part. So without the existence of your whole, so this your part cannot exist. Like in your SVIT does not do not have any existence when we don't have SVV. So this SVV has the ownership of SVIT. So again, when we are going from this ownership, either we have some whole and part relationship. This is good. So whenever you are having a single whole and part relationship, it means that you are going from aggregation. Now this aggregation whole part relationship contains some ownership, and it only belongs to your single whole part. So we can say that this is a composition relationship. Now when we are deleting, so when it takes the ownership of your part, so when we are going to delete your whole, so your part will be automatically be deleted. So when we are going from language specific implementation, so this is very easy to implement in your any of your programming language. So let's say takes an example. So when we are going from a single aggregation, so we can make it as an this single diamond. So this is empty diamond. Then when we are going from this composition, so this we are having this filled diamond available. So it represents your composition. So this filled diamond is your composition, while this empty diamond is your aggregation relationship. So this is how a company has divisions, and this divisions has departments. So when we are removing this company, so we don't have these divisions, and department has no existence in your real world or your entire system. Again, this company has the ownership of this division. While when we are going from car, let's say car, so this car, without car we can have a tires. So tire has the existence. When we delete our car, we can have tires available. So this tires has existence. So this car and tire relationship is just an aggregation relationship. While when we are going for uh, this, let's say company, division, and department, so this is an aggregation. So when we remove this, this division and this department has no existence available. So this is a composition relationship and how it is different from aggregation. Now next thing is the propagation of your operation. So हमने इसको पहले बताया भी था, how we are going from propagating, right? We are propagating from one object to another object. So this propagation or just a triggering of event. So it is just this propagation or triggering is an automatic application of operations to a network of objects when the operation is applied to some starting objects. Let's say a person owns your document. So this is my simple and association relationship. Now, when I like to copy some text, so when I like to copy some text, so it will copy a paragraph, and right from copying a paragraph, we can copy a different characters. So we are going from right from we are when we are going to perform an operation, let's say copy, we are going from this direction, so this is my propagation available. So document copies a paragraph, and while doing copy, so it copies a paragraph, and while doing copying a paragraph, what it does, it copies some characters. So the flow of propagation is right from your left to right. Then we can propagate in across different aggregation and composition, because we are in some different parts available. Now a question arises that can we move from this right to left, that is when we are trying to copy a character, can we copy paragraph and can we copy all those documents? No. So reverse direction is not possible for propagating operations. So this is just an asymmetry available, and this we have uh, look this that this asymmetry, your aggregation is your asymmetric uh, in nature. So we when we are moving in one direction, so we can't move in another direction, because asymmetry exists in between all those aggregation or in the composition relationship. We cannot say that this document is a document has a paragraph, so a paragraph doesn't contains your document. So when you are copying this paragraph, it doesn't mean that you are copying on the whole document. So this propagation is unidirection in nature. Well, so you have to take care of this reverse direction. Again, this is again based on uh, your domain analysis and your level of experiences available. So you can map all those propagation of operations in your class diagrams. Now we are having some abstract classes available. So what are these abstract classes? So these abstract classes, the basic definition you have studied is uh, that abstract classes has no objects. That is, it means that it has no direct instances available. So we can make an instances of their concrete classes. So what are the concrete classes? So concrete classes has the implementation of a method that is been defined in your abstract classes. So this is an abstract classes, so we will not provide any implementation or any definition over here, and these uh, subclasses will implement all the method that is being specified in your abstract classes. So what is the being advantage of using the abstract classes in your uh, project? Like that, I'm a project manager, and I have to take a decision that we have to implement, like we are implementing a shapes. So right, one student is drawing a shape of a rectangle, another one is going for ellipsoid, and let's say third one is going from the parabola. Fine. So for particular instance, some general methods are being available for this implementation, or we can say that project manager just define a signature, and that is being available, and that should be common for all those methods. Let's say this is an shape class, and it defines signature method that is in draw. This is in draw, and let's say we have some attributes available. Let's say this is an coordinate. Attributes are coordinate, and this is my function. Now this is a common signature and this is a common attribute. So while drawing an let's say this is an ellipsoid, so well we are going from drawing an ellipsoid, so we can have this method draw. So we have a specific implementation of this draw. So when user, let's say I'm available here and I like to draw a shape, so what we can have is we can have a draw method. So instead of going to a specific implementation, your user can call this abstract classes over here, and this abstract classes will provide a signature, and right from this method, let's say from this is an ellipsoid, so what we can do is that we can call this is an instance of ellipsoid. So this is, we call a method like and draw. So we can draw a function over here. So right from its ellipsoid this objects, and we can call this methods over here, just like in dynamic method discrete in your Java. So advantage is that it provide your overall signature to your projects. So a project manager defines a signature, and then this has been shared all among the classes and all those developers then who are going from the modularity, so that will go for a specific classes, and then they will implement all those abstract classes in their class specific operation over there. So when we are having a operation that are being specified in your abstract classes, this operation is specified in this abstract class, or this operation is specified in this specific classes. So these operations are named as abstract operation. So it can have definition or it cannot have definition. So some object oriented language supports abstract implementation of abstract operation, and some does not, like when C++ doesn't support some uh, definition of operations in their classes, while earlier versions of Java also doesn't support the implementation of definition of methods in your abstract classes, while the later the recent versions also supports, and based on different languages. Even now .NET can support. I don't know about Java, but yeah, Java and .NET, the recent version supports the implementations of functions. Yeah. So when these functions are available, so these are abstract operations, and these are the different methods. So we can say that these classes are the concrete classes, and we have to implement this compute method over here. And then if we don't want to get implement over here, so we have to make again this is an abstract class, and then we have to provide some another class that can implement this. So this is just based on your implementation of particular program implementation. Now we are some situation that we have to eliminate some concrete classes. Why to go for this eliminate this concrete super classes? So we have to avoid some awkward situation where a concrete super class must both specify signature of an operation from the decent classes and also provide an implementation for its concrete instances. Like for this example, so when we are having some this abstract operation, so when we are having, let's say this is super class available and it provides some implementation of this is not an abstract class, so this is just a super class, and this is an these are three subclasses available. So what we are having is that it can provide an particular specification of an operation. Let's say a worker. So this let's say we are having a function that is an build. So either we can, in generally a super class and subclasses, so subclass have some definition available here. So what we can do is that we can remove the definition over here. So we can remove this abstract operation right from here, and we can create another class. Let's say this is an other classes, and we can move this particular build operation to this other classes, while we have some common operation that is being available here. So we can create your abstract classes right from your super classes, and it certainly helps to make your signature. So instead we are having different functions, and these functions are, let's say this function is not implemented in all three classes, so it makes your objects heavy, or it takes too much memory. So what we can do is that we can move this particular functions to the another class, and we can inherit all those property right from here. So for those functions that are not being used in these three classes, so we can move to another class and make it as an abstract class. So it makes the object of these classes lighter, because it doesn't contain much information right from this worker, because few functions are not implemented in classes, so these are not necessary for this, or even can have some security concerns available here. So we have to avoid such situation. So we have to avoid some concrete class super classes or concrete super classes, so because it may lead to some security concerns for you. So next is, so we'll cover this multiple inheritances and constraints in the next section. Meanwhile, if you are having some problem, you can ask me.